Not because of a suit, though it was impossible to miss.
3 years waiting tables taught you that skill.
The restaurant was closing in 20 minutes when the man in the $15,000 suit walked through the door. Claire noticed him immediately. Not because of the suit, though it was impossible to miss. Not because of the way he moved, like someone who had never been told no in his life. She noticed him because she had learned, after 3 years waiting tables, to recognize the ones who would make her night difficult. He didn't wait to be seated. He chose a table himself, the one by the window with the best view of the city skyline. The one that hadn't been reset yet. Claire was wiping down the bar, her feet aching in shoes she'd worn through the soles twice over. She glanced at Monica, the hostess, who was counting the cash drawer. Monica looked back and shrugged. "He's all yours." Claire picked up a menu and walked over. The man was already on his phone, typing rapidly with his thumbs. She waited. He didn't look up. She waited another 10 seconds. "Good evening," she said. "Welcome to Scotch," he said, still typing. "Macallan 25. Neat." "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't carry that label." "We have." "Then whatever you have that isn't bottom shelf." He finally looked up. His eyes were cold and pale, the kind that seemed to calculate the value of everything they landed on. They settled on Claire for less than a second before returning to his phone. "And bring me the steak. However your chef does it best." "I don't have preferences." Claire wrote nothing down because there was nothing to write. "Our kitchen closes in 15 minutes, sir. I can get you something from the I'm sure you can figure it out." He set his phone face down on the table. "You do work here, don't you?" The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. Claire felt them in her chest, in that familiar place where small humiliations collected and hardened over time. "Yes, sir," she said. "I'll see what I can do." She walked back to the kitchen. The cook, a man named Ray who had worked there longer than Claire had been alive, was already cleaning the grill. "Ray," she said. "I need a favor." He looked at her, then past her at the man by the window. He sighed. "What does he want?" "Steak. However you make it best." Ray wiped his hands on his apron. "We're closed, Claire." "I know. He looks like the type who'll send it back 3 times. "I know." Ray stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned the grill back on. "Ribeye okay?" "Perfect. Thank you." She poured the scotch, not top shelf, but not bottom either, and brought it to the table. The man took it without acknowledgement. She returned to the bar, began rolling silverware and napkins, and tried not to think about the fact that she'd have to stay late, which meant missing the last affordable bus, which meant walking 40 minutes home. The man drank his scotch in silence. He made 2 phone calls, both short, both in a tone that suggested the person on the other end was being reprimanded. When the steak came out, Claire brought it herself along with the usual sides. "Here you are, sir. Ribeye, medium rare." He glanced at the plate. "I didn't ask for vegetables. They come with the Take them back." Claire picked up the small dish of roasted asparagus and returned to the kitchen. Ray didn't ask. She scraped the vegetables into the trash and went back to rolling silverware. The man ate slowly, deliberately, like someone performing a task that required inspection. Halfway through, he set down his knife and fork, aligned them precisely on the edge of the plate, and gestured for Claire. She walked over. "Is everything all right?" "It's overcooked." She looked at the steak. It was perfect. Even from where she stood, she could see the warm pink center, the charred crust, the resting juices pooling on the plate. I can ask the chef to. Never mind, he said. I don't have time to wait for another. He continued eating. Every bite looked like an accusation. When he finished, he pushed the plate away, drained the last of his scotch, and gestured for the check. Claire brought it on the small black tray, the total written clearly at the bottom. He pulled out a black credit card and set it on the tray without looking at the amount. Claire ran it, returned with the receipt. He signed it quickly, stood, and buttoned his suit jacket in one smooth motion. That's when Claire saw the tip line. 0. Not even $1. Just a hard, deliberate line through the space. She said nothing. She never did. She picked up the tray and carried it back to the bar. The man walked toward the door, still on his phone, his voice low and irritated. I don't care what the board thinks, Marcus. Fire him. I want it done by morning. The door closed behind him. Monica came over, leaning against the bar. Wow. He was a piece of work. Claire shrugged. It's fine. Did he tip? No. Monica's face tightened. Of course he didn't. Claire cleared the table, wiped it down, and helped Ray finish closing the kitchen. By the time she clocked out, it was nearly midnight. She pulled her jacket tight against the November cold and started walking. The route home took her through 3 neighborhoods that got progressively quieter as the lights thinned out. She kept her head down and her pace steady. She'd done this walk dozens of times. Halfway home, she heard footsteps behind her. She didn't turn around. She just walked a little faster. The footsteps matched her pace. Her pulse kicked up. She glanced over her shoulder. It was him. The man from the restaurant. He wasn't following her. He was just walking in the same direction. His phone was still in his hand, glowing against his face. He didn't seem to notice her at all. Claire exhaled and slowed down. Coincidence. That's all it was. But then he turned down the same side street she took. And the next one. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears now. She told herself she was being paranoid. This was a city. People walked the same routes. It didn't mean anything. But when she turned onto the narrow street that led to her apartment building, he turned too. She stopped. He kept walking, not looking up, not slowing. He passed within 10 feet of her, his shoes clicking evenly on the pavement. She watched him disappear around the corner ahead, toward the parking garage on the next block. Claire stood there for 30 seconds, waiting for her breathing to steady. Then she continued home, unlocked the 3 deadbolts on her apartment door, and sat down on the edge of her bed without turning on the lights. She told herself it was nothing. The next evening, he came back. Same time. Same suit, or one identical to it. Same table by the window. Claire was in the middle of taking an order from a family of 4 when she saw him sit down. Her stomach tightened. She finished with the family, dropped the order in the kitchen, and walked over to his table. Good evening, she said. Can I start you off with? Scotch. Same as last night. And the steak again. You remember how I take it. She hadn't written it down. Yes, sir. Good. He didn't look at her once. She brought him the drink. She put in the order. She refilled water glasses for other tables, ran food, cleared plates. The man ate in the same methodical silence as before. When she brought the check, he left the same tip. 0. On the 3rd night, Monica pulled her aside before the dinner rush. Is he bothering you? Claire shook her head. He's just rude. It's fine. You don't have to take his table. It's fine. But it wasn't fine. Because on the third night, he didn't leave right away. He sat at the table after paying, scrolling through his phone, making calls in that same clipped, cutting tone. Claire finished her side work, clocked out, and left through the back door. She walked the long way home that night, avoiding the side streets. But when she turned onto her block, she saw him again. Not following her. Not watching. Just standing outside the parking garage, phone pressed to his ear, pacing in small, agitated circles. She walked past him quickly. He didn't look up. Inside her apartment, she locked the door and sat in the dark for a long time. On the fourth night, she arrived at work to find Monica in the kitchen, arguing with Ray. I'm telling you, it's weird, Monica was saying. He's been here 4 nights in a row. Same time. Same table. Same order. Ray shrugged. So he likes routine. It's not routine. It's obsessive. Claire set her bag in her locker. It's fine. Really? Monica turned to her. Did you see him last night? After you left? Claire hesitated. What do you mean? He sat there for another hour. Just sitting. Mike had to ask him to leave when we locked up. Ray looked at Claire. You want me to say something? No, Claire said. I can handle it. But she couldn't. That night, he didn't order food. He just ordered drink after drink, scotch after scotch, each one disappearing faster than the last. His phone stayed dark on the table. He didn't make calls. He just stared out the window at the city lights, his jaw tight, his hands clasped in front of him like he was holding something down. Claire refilled his glass 4 times. She didn't ask if he wanted food. He didn't offer. At the end of the night, when she brought the check, he looked at her for the first time in 4 days. What's your name? He asked. She froze. Claire. Claire. He repeated it like he was testing the weight of it. You work here every night? Most nights. You walk home? Her throat tightened. Why? He blinked, as if the question surprised him. Then his expression smoothed back into that unreadable mask. No reason. He signed the receipt, 0 tip again, and stood. This time, he didn't leave right away. He buttoned his jacket slowly, adjusted his cuffs, and looked at her one more time. Be careful out there, he said. Then he walked out. Claire stood there, holding the tray, her hands trembling just slightly. Monica appeared beside her. What did he say to you? Nothing. Claire set the tray down. It was nothing. But when she left that night, she didn't take her usual route. She walked 4 blocks in the wrong direction, doubled back, and took the bus even though it meant spending money she didn't have. She didn't see him. But she felt him. On the 5th night, he didn't show up. Claire told herself she was relieved. She worked her shift, took her tables, collected her tips. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. But at closing time, when she walked out the back door into the alley, she saw him. He was leaning against the brick wall across from the dumpster, hands in his pockets, staring at nothing. Claire stopped. He looked up. Claire, he said. Her heart was pounding. What are you doing here? I wanted to apologize. She didn't move. For what? For being rude. For not tipping. For. He trailed off, his jaw working like he was chewing on words he didn't know how to say. For making you uncomfortable. Okay, Claire said slowly. Apology accepted. Good night. She started walking. Wait. She didn't stop. Please. Something in his voice made her turn around. He wasn't moving toward her. He was just standing there, looking smaller somehow despite the expensive suit and the perfect posture. What? She asked. He exhaled. I need your help. My help? Yes. Claire stared at him. I'm a waitress. I know. Then what could you possibly need from me? He looked at her for a long moment. And for the first time since she'd met him, his expression cracked. Just slightly. Just enough for her to see something underneath. Fear. Someone, he said quietly, is trying to kill me. Claire didn't say anything. She didn't know what to say. The alley was dark and cold and empty, and this man, this stranger who had spent 5 nights treating her like she was invisible, was standing 10 feet away, telling her someone wanted him dead. I think you should call the police, she said finally. I can't. Why not? Because I don't know who it is. His voice was steady now, controlled, like he was presenting a case in a boardroom. I don't know who I can trust. I don't know if it's someone in my company, someone I've fired, someone on the board. I don't even know if it's a professional or just someone with a grudge. And you think I can help with that? No. He took a step forward. She took a step back. He stopped. But you're the only person in this city who doesn't want anything from me. You don't know who I am. You don't care. You just exist outside of all of it. Claire's hand tightened around her bag strap. I don't know what you think is happening here, but 3 days ago, he interrupted, someone tried to run me off the road. 2 weeks before that, my office building had a gas leak that wasn't a gas leak. Last month, I was mugged in a parking garage by someone who didn't take my wallet. Claire felt cold. That doesn't mean. I'm not paranoid, he said. I'm careful. And I'm telling you, someone is trying to kill me. Then hire security. Hire a bodyguard. Hire. I have security, he said. I have 3 bodyguards. I had 4, until one of them quit last week with no explanation. Claire said nothing. I've been coming to your restaurant, he continued, because it's random. Because no one knows I go there. Because no one would think to look for me in a place like that. A place like that. The words landed exactly as he meant them. I'm sorry, Claire said. But I can't help you. She turned and walked toward the mouth of the alley. They're going to try again, he called after her. Soon. Maybe tonight. Claire kept walking. She made it halfway down the block before she heard the sound. A car engine. Accelerating. Fast. She turned. The black sedan came out of nowhere, headlights off, tires screeching as it swerved onto the sidewalk. It was heading straight for the alley. Straight for him. Claire didn't think. She ran. She reached him in 4 seconds, grabbed his arm, and yanked him backward with all the strength she had. He stumbled. She fell. The car shot past them, so close she felt the heat of the engine against her face. It missed him by inches. The car sped down the street and disappeared around the corner, headlights flickering on only after it was gone. Claire lay on the pavement, her palms scraped and bleeding, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. The man was beside her, staring after the car, his face pale. Neither of them moved. Finally, he turned to look at her. You saved my life, he said. Claire pushed herself up onto her elbows. You need to call the police. Right now. They won't believe me. I don't have proof. You almost got killed by a car. Accidents happen every day. Claire stared at him. You're insane. I'm realistic. He stood, brushing dirt from his suit. Then he extended a hand to her. Come on. We need to get off the street. She didn't take his hand. She stood on her own, wincing as her scraped palm stung. I'm going home. You can't. Watch me. They saw you. His voice was urgent now. They saw you pull me out of the way. They're going to know you're involved. I'm not involved in anything. You are now. Claire backed away from him. You're not my problem. Maybe not, he said. But you're mine. She turned and started walking, ignoring the ache in her knees, the sting in her hands, the pounding of her heart. Behind her, she heard his footsteps. Claire. She didn't stop. Claire, please. She kept walking. She turned the corner. She walked faster. He followed. She walked another block. So did he. Finally, she spun around. Stop following me. I'm not letting you walk home alone. I've been walking home alone for 3 years. That was before someone tried to kill me in front of you. Claire wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted to rewind 5 minutes and make a different choice. But she couldn't. So she just stood there, in the middle of an empty street, staring at a man she didn't know, whose name she didn't even know, who had just pulled her into something she didn't understand. What's your name? She asked finally. He hesitated. Does it matter? Yes. Ethan, he said. Ethan Cross. The name didn't mean anything to her. She didn't follow business news. She didn't care about CEOs or tech moguls or whoever this man thought he was. Fine, she said. Ethan. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave me alone. You're going to go home, hire better security, and figure out who wants you dead. And I'm going to forget this ever happened. I can't do that. Yes, you can. No, he said quietly. I can't. Because you're the only reason I'm still alive. Claire shook her head. That's not my fault. I know. He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes that wasn't calculation or coldness. It was desperation. But I'm asking you anyway. Help me. Just for a few days. Just until I figure out who's behind this. And then what? Then you never have to see me again. Claire wanted to say no. She wanted to walk away and let this man deal with his own problems. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the fear in his voice. Maybe it was the way he'd looked at her when she pulled him out of the way. Maybe it was just the exhaustion of being invisible for so long that the first time someone saw her, it was because she'd saved their life. I have to work tomorrow, she said. I know. I'm not quitting my job for you. I wouldn't ask you to. And if you're lying to me, if this is some weird stalker thing, I swear to God. I'm not lying. Claire looked at him. Really looked at him. The suit was expensive, but it was wrinkled. His tie was loose. His hair was perfect, but his eyes were tired. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Fine, she said. But only until you figure this out. And you're paying me. He blinked. Paying you? I'm not doing this for free. Whatever you pay your bodyguards, I want half. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Deal. And I'm not staying at your place. Fair. And you're not staying at mine. Understood. Claire sighed. This is insane. I know. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Neither do I. They stood there in silence, two strangers bound together by a car that should have killed one of them. Come on, Ethan said finally. I'll call a car. We'll go somewhere safe. Where? I don't know yet. He pulled out his phone. But not here. Claire followed him down the street, her hands still bleeding, her mind still spinning. She didn't know what she'd just agreed to. She didn't know what came next. But she knew, somewhere deep in her chest, that her life had just changed in a way she couldn't take back. The car arrived 6 minutes later. A black SUV with tinted windows. The driver didn't speak. Ethan opened the back door for her, and she slid inside, the leather seats cold against her legs. He climbed in beside her and gave the driver an address she didn't recognize. They drove in silence. Claire watched the city slide past the window, the lights blurring together. Her hands throbbed. She pressed them against her jeans, trying not to think about how badly they stung. Ethan noticed. "We'll get those cleaned up when we get there," he said. "Where's there?" "A hotel. One I don't usually use." "How many hotels do you usually use?" "More than I'd like." The car turned onto a quieter street, then into an underground parking garage. The driver stopped near an elevator. Ethan thanked him by name, Thomas, and led Claire to the elevator. They rode up in silence. The room was on the 14th floor, a suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It was sterile and expensive, the kind of place that felt like it had never been lived in. Ethan locked the door behind them, checked the windows, and closed the curtains. "Bathrooms through there," he said, nodding toward a door on the left. "There's a first aid kit under the sink." Claire walked into the bathroom and stared at herself in the mirror. Her face was pale. Her hair was a mess. Her palms were raw and bloody. She ran water over her hands, biting back a wince as it stung. She found the first aid kit, cleaned the scrapes as best she could, and wrapped them in gauze. When she came out, Ethan was sitting on the edge of the bed, his jacket off, his tie discarded on the nightstand. He looked up. "Better?" "Not really." He nodded. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For all of this." Claire sat down in the chair by the window. "Tell me what's going on." "All of it." Ethan leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "I run a company. Cross Technologies. We develop software for financial systems. Banks, investment firms, hedge funds. We're good at what we do." "Very good." "So someone wants to steal your software?" "No. Someone wants me dead." "Why?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." He looked at her. 3 months ago, we were approached by a group of investors who wanted to buy the company. I said no. 2 months ago, we were approached again. I said no again. A month ago, I started noticing things. Small things. My office was broken into, but nothing was taken. My car was tampered with. My assistant quit without explanation. Did you fire anyone recently? I fire people all the time. It's part of the job. Claire frowned. That's a terrible answer. I know. He sighed. But it's true. I've made enemies. A lot of them. The problem is, I don't know which one of them is willing to kill me. What about the investors? They're clean. I checked. They're annoying, but they're not murderers. Then who? That's what I need to find out. Claire shook her head. You need professionals. Not me. Professionals ask questions. They dig into my life. They make noise. I can't afford that right now. Why not? Because if the wrong person finds out I'm scared, they'll know they're winning. He looked at her. I need someone who doesn't ask questions. Someone who doesn't care about my money or my company or my reputation. Someone who just exists. That's not a compliment. It's not meant to be. He paused. But it's why I need you. Claire stared at him. This is insane. You've said that already. Because it's true. Ethan stood and walked to the window, even though the curtains were closed. I know. But I don't have another option. Claire stood too. Yes, you do. You call the police. You tell them everything. You let them investigate. And what do I tell them? That I think someone's trying to kill me but I don't have proof? That I've survived 3 accidents in the last month? They'll think I'm paranoid. Maybe you are. Maybe. He turned to face her. But that car tonight wasn't an accident. You saw it. You felt it. That was deliberate. Claire couldn't argue with that. She'd seen the car. She'd felt the heat of the engine. She'd seen the way it swerved directly toward them. So what now? She asked. Now we figure out who's behind this. How? I don't know yet. He rubbed his eyes. But I'll think of something. Claire looked at him, this man who had walked into her restaurant 5 nights ago and treated her like she was nothing. This man who was now standing in a hotel room, asking for her help because he didn't trust anyone else. Why me? She asked quietly. Really? Ethan met her eyes. Because when that car came at me, you didn't hesitate. You didn't think. You just acted. And that's the kind of person I need right now. Claire wanted to tell him he was wrong. That she wasn't brave or selfless or any of the things he seemed to think. That she just reacted on instinct, the same way anyone would. But she didn't. Because maybe, for the first time in a long time, someone was seeing her as something other than invisible. I'm going home, she said. Claire. I'll help you. But not tonight. I need to sleep. I need to think. And I need to figure out what the hell I just agreed to. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay. I'll have Thomas drive you. No. I'll take a cab. Claire. No bodyguards. No drivers. No one following me. If I'm going to do this, I do it my way. He looked like he wanted to argue. But he didn't. Fine, he said. But call me when you get home. So I know you're safe. I don't have your number. He rattled it off. She typed it into her phone, saved it under Ethan. Then she left. The cab ride home was quiet. Claire stared out the window, watching the city pass by, trying to process everything that had just happened. By the time she unlocked her apartment door, it was nearly 2 in the morning. She texted Ethan a single word, home. He replied immediately, thank you. She didn't respond. She showered, changed into old sweatpants and a t-shirt, and crawled into bed. But she didn't sleep. She just lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering what she'd just gotten herself into. The next morning, Claire called in sick to work. She'd never called in sick before. Not in 3 years. But she couldn't go back there. Not yet. Not until she understood what was happening. She spent the morning researching Ethan Cross. He wasn't lying. He was a CEO. A real one. His company, Cross Technologies, was worth billions. He'd been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, TechCrunch. He was 36 years old. He'd founded the company when he was 25. He had no spouse, no kids, no public relationships. He was, by all accounts, a genius. And someone wanted him dead. Claire closed her laptop and stared at the wall. Her phone buzzed. Ethan, we need to talk. Can I come over? Claire, no. Ethan, then meet me somewhere. Your choice. She thought for a moment, then typed, the library. Main branch. 2 hours. Ethan, I'll be there. Claire dressed carefully. Jeans, a sweater, a jacket. Nothing that stood out. She pulled her hair back, grabbed her bag, and left. The library was busy, filled with students and retirees and people who just wanted somewhere warm to sit. Claire found a table in the back corner, near the history section, and waited. Ethan arrived 10 minutes late. He was wearing a different suit, navy this time, but he looked just as tired as he had the night before. He sat down across from her without a word. "I need to know everything," Claire said. "If I'm going to help you, I need to know exactly what I'm walking into." Ethan nodded. "Okay. Start with the people you fired. There are hundreds. Start with the recent ones." He pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. "In the last 6 months? 12 people. Why? Performance issues. Misconduct. Budget cuts. Any of them threaten you?" "Not directly." "What does that mean?" "It means they were angry. But they didn't say anything actionable." Claire leaned forward. "Who was the angriest?" Ethan hesitated. Then he said a name. "Marcus Reed." "Who's Marcus Reed?" Claire asked. Ethan set his phone down on the table. "My former CFO. I fired him 8 weeks ago." "Why?" "He was embezzling." "Not much. Just enough that I almost didn't notice." "But I did." Claire felt something shift in her chest. "And you're just mentioning this now?" "I didn't think it was relevant." "Someone you fired for stealing might want revenge, and you didn't think it was relevant?" Ethan's jaw tightened. Marcus wasn't violent. He was a coward. He took the severance package and left quietly. "Did he?" "Yes." "Are you sure?" Ethan didn't answer right away. Claire watched him, watched the way his eyes moved, the way his fingers drummed once against the table before going still. "No," he said finally. "I'm not sure." Claire sat back. "What else aren't you telling me?" "Nothing." "Ethan." He looked at her. "I don't know what you want me to say." "I've fired people. I've made enemies. I've built a company that threatens other companies. Any one of 100 people could want me dead. Then we start with the most obvious one." "Marcus?" "Yes." Ethan shook his head. "He wouldn't have the resources. He's broke. I made sure of that." "You took everything from him?" "I took back what he stole." "That's not the same thing." Claire studied him. "You really don't see it, do you?" "See what?" "How people might hate you." The words hung in the air between them. Ethan didn't flinch. He just looked at her with those cold, calculating eyes. "I see it," he said quietly. "I just don't care. Maybe you should start." He didn't respond. Claire pulled out a notebook from her bag. She'd bought it that morning, along with 3 pens. If she was going to do this, she was going to do it properly. "Give me Marcus's information," she said. "Address, phone number, anything you have." "Why?" "Because I'm going to talk to him." "Absolutely not." "Then what's the plan? We just sit here and wait for someone to try again?" "I'll hire investigators. Professionals. You said you didn't want to make noise." "I changed my mind." Claire leaned forward. "No. You hired me. You asked for my help. And now I'm helping. So give me his information." Ethan stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something, and turned the screen toward her. Marcus Reed. An address in a neighborhood she didn't recognize. A phone number. A photo from what looked like a corporate directory, middle-aged, thinning hair, narrow eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Claire copied the information into her notebook. "What are you going to do?" Ethan asked. "I'm going to knock on his door and ask him some questions." "That's insane. You've said that about everything so far." "Because it's true." He stood up. "You can't just walk up to someone who might be trying to kill me and start interrogating them." "Why not?" "Because it's dangerous. Because you don't know what you're doing. Because I'm just a waitress?" The words stopped him cold. Claire stood too. "That's what you think, isn't it? That I'm out of my depth. That I don't belong in your world." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Ethan's expression shifted, something like regret crossing his face. "Claire, I'm trying to keep you safe. I didn't ask you to." "I know. But I'm doing it anyway." Claire picked up her notebook and shoved it into her bag. "I'm going to Marcus's place. You can come with me or you can stay here." "I don't care." She turned to leave. "Wait." She stopped but didn't turn around. "If we're doing this," Ethan said, "we do it together. And we do it smart." Claire looked back at him. "Meaning?" "Meaning we don't go alone. Meaning we have a plan. Meaning you listen to me when I tell you something is too dangerous. And you listen to me when I tell you you're being paranoid. Deal?" They stared at each other. "Fine," Claire said. "What's the plan?" Marcus Reed lived in a small apartment complex on the east side of the city, the kind of place where the paint was peeling and the parking lot had more potholes than spaces. Claire and Ethan sat in his car, a rented sedan, not the SUV, across the street, watching the building. "Third floor," Ethan said. "Apartment 3C. "How do you know?" "I know everything about everyone who works for me." "Worked." "Right." They'd been sitting there for 20 minutes. No one had gone in or out. The windows of 3C were dark. "Maybe he's not home," Claire said. "Or maybe he's waiting for us." Claire glanced at him. "You really think he'd try something here? In broad daylight?" "I don't know what he'd do." "That's the problem." Claire opened the car door. "Only one way to find out." Ethan grabbed her arm. "Wait." "For what?" "Just, let me think." "You've been thinking for 20 minutes. I need to be sure." Claire pulled her arm free. "I'm going. You can come or not." She got out of the car and crossed the street. Behind her, she heard Ethan curse under his breath, then the sound of his door opening. The building's front door was unlocked. The lobby smelled like mildew and old carpet. They took the stairs to the third floor, their footsteps echoing in the narrow stairwell. Apartment 3C was at the end of the hall. Claire knocked. No answer. She knocked again, harder. Still nothing. Ethan tried the handle. It turned. They looked at each other. "Don't," Ethan said. Claire pushed the door open. The apartment was small and dark. The curtains were drawn. The air was stale. Claire stepped inside, her heart hammering. "Marcus," she called out. No response. Ethan moved past her, checking the kitchen, the bathroom. Claire walked into the living room. It was sparse. A couch. A coffee table. A TV that looked 10 years old. And papers. Everywhere. They covered the coffee table, the floor, the couch. Financial documents. Spreadsheets. Bank statements. All of them marked with red ink, circles and underlines and angry scrawls. Claire picked one up. It was a termination letter. Signed by Ethan Cross. He kept all of this, she said quietly. Ethan appeared beside her, looking at the papers. His face had gone pale. This is more than a grudge, he said. Claire set the letter down and moved to the bedroom. The door was open. Inside, the walls were covered. Photos of Ethan. Hundreds of them. At his office. In his car. At restaurants. At the gym. Walking down the street. And in the center of it all, a single photo with a red X drawn over Ethan's face. Claire felt cold. Ethan, she said. He came to the doorway and stopped. He stared at the wall, his expression unreadable. We need to leave, he said. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That a man I fired is obsessed with me? That's not a crime. This is more than obsession. I know. He pulled out his phone. But we still need to leave. Now. Claire followed him out of the apartment, down the stairs, back to the car. Neither of them spoke. When they were inside, Ethan locked the doors and sat there, hands on the steering wheel, not moving. He's been following you, Claire said. For weeks. Maybe months. I know. And you didn't notice? I noticed things. I just didn't. I didn't think it was him. Why not? Because Marcus was always weak. Always passive. I never thought he'd have the guts to actually do something. Claire shook her head. People change when you take everything from them. Ethan looked at her. I didn't take everything. I took what was mine. You don't get it, do you? It doesn't matter what you think is fair. It matters what he thinks. And he thinks you destroyed his life. Ethan didn't respond. He just started the car and pulled away from the curb. They drove in silence for several blocks before Claire spoke again. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. He drove them to another hotel, this one smaller, less conspicuous. They checked in under a fake name. The room was on the second floor, overlooking the parking lot. Ethan locked the door, checked the windows, and sat down on the edge of the bed. Claire stood by the window, looking out at the cars below. We need a plan, she said. I'm working on it. Work faster. Ethan looked up at her. What do you want me to do, Claire? March into his apartment and confront him? Wait for him to try again so we have proof? I want you to stop acting like this is just a business problem you can solve with logic and money. Then what is it? It's personal. He hates you. And hate doesn't follow logic. Ethan stood and walked to the window, standing beside her. So what do I do? Claire thought for a moment. We find him. We talk to him. We figure out if he's working alone or if someone hired him. And if he won't talk? Then we make him. Ethan looked at her. You're serious? Yes. You realize that's illegal. So is murder. A ghost of a smile crossed Ethan's face. Fair point. Claire's phone buzzed. She pulled it out and saw a text from Monica. Monica, where are you? Are you okay? You never call in sick. Claire hesitated, then typed back, I'm fine. Family emergency. I'll explain later. Monica, okay. Be safe. Claire put her phone away and turned to Ethan. We need to move fast. If Marcus knows we were in his apartment. He doesn't. How can you be sure? Because if he did, he would have already done something about it. Claire wasn't convinced, but she didn't argue. Fine. So what's the plan? Ethan pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. Marcus used to frequent a bar downtown. A place called the Jackdaw. If he's still going there, we might be able to find him. And then? Then we see what he knows. They waited until evening. Ethan changed into jeans and a plain black sweater, the first time Claire had seen him in anything other than a suit. He looked different. Younger. Less intimidating. They took a cab to the Jackdaw, a dive bar wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop. The neon sign flickered in the window. Inside, the lighting was dim, the music was loud, and the air smelled like beer and sweat. Claire scanned the room. Marcus wasn't there. They found a booth in the back corner and ordered drinks they didn't intend to finish. Ethan kept his head down, his phone in his hand, checking it every few minutes. An hour passed. Then another. He's not coming, Claire said. Give it time. We've given it 2 hours. Just wait. Claire was about to argue when the door opened and a man walked in. Thinning hair. Wire-rimmed glasses. The same narrow eyes from the photo. Marcus Reed. He walked to the bar, ordered a drink, and sat down on a stool, his back to them. Claire looked at Ethan. Now what? Now we watch. They watched Marcus drain his first drink and order a second. He didn't talk to anyone. He just sat there, staring at his phone, his shoulders hunched. After his third drink, he stood and headed toward the back of the bar, toward the restrooms. Ethan stood. Wait here. No. Claire. We do this together. Remember? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. They followed Marcus down the narrow hallway. He pushed open the door to the men's room and disappeared inside. Claire stayed in the hallway. Ethan went in. She heard voices. Low. Tense. She couldn't make out the words, but she could hear the tone. Then she heard a crash. Claire pushed the door open. Marcus was pressed against the wall, Ethan's forearm across his throat. Marcus's glasses were on the floor, one lens cracked. Where is he? Ethan was saying. Who hired you? Marcus's eyes were wide, terrified. I don't know what you're talking about. The car. The gas leak. All of it. Who's paying you? No one. I swear. Ethan pressed harder. Marcus gasped. Ethan, Claire said. Stop. He didn't stop. Claire followed him out of the apartment, down the stairs, back to the car. Neither of them spoke. When they were inside, Ethan locked the doors and sat there, hands on the steering wheel, not moving. He's been following you, Claire said. 4 weeks. Maybe months. I know. And you didn't notice? I noticed things. I just didn't. I didn't think it was him. Why not? Because Marcus was always weak. Always passive. I never thought he'd have the guts to actually do something. Claire shook her head. People change when you take everything from them. Ethan looked at her. I didn't take everything. I took what was mine. You don't get it, do you? It doesn't matter what you think is fair. It matters what he thinks. And he thinks you destroyed his life. Ethan didn't respond. He just started the car and pulled away from the curb. They drove in silence for several blocks before Claire spoke again. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. He drove them to another hotel, this one smaller, less conspicuous. They checked in under a fake name. The room was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the parking lot. Ethan locked the door, checked the windows, and sat down on the edge of the bed. Claire stood by the window, looking out at the cars below. We need a plan, she said. I'm working on it. Work faster. Ethan looked up at her. What do you want me to do, Claire? March into his apartment and confront him? Wait for him to try again so we have proof? I want you to stop acting like this is just a business problem you can solve with logic and money. Then what is it? It's personal. He hates you. And hate doesn't follow logic. Ethan stood and walked to the window, standing beside her. So what do I do? Claire thought for a moment. We find him. We talk to him. We figure out if he's working alone or if someone hired him. And if he won't talk? Then we make him. Ethan looked at her. You're serious? Yes. You realize that's illegal. So is murder. A ghost of a smile crossed Ethan's face. Fair point. Claire's phone buzzed. She pulled it out and saw a text from Monica. Monica, where are you? Are you okay? You never call in sick. Claire hesitated, then typed back, I'm fine. Family emergency. I'll explain later. Monica, okay. Be safe. Claire put her phone away and turned to Ethan. We need to move fast. If Marcus knows we were in his apartment. He doesn't. How can you be sure? Because if he did, he would have already done something about it. Claire wasn't convinced, but she didn't argue. Fine. So what's the plan? Ethan pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. Marcus used to frequent a bar downtown. A place called the Jackdaw. If he's still going there, we might be able to find him. And then? Then we see what he knows. They waited until evening. Ethan changed into jeans and a plain black sweater, the first time Claire had seen him in anything other than a suit. He looked different. Younger. Less intimidating. They took a cab to the Jackdaw, a dive bar wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop. The neon sign flickered in the window. Inside, the lighting was dim, the music was loud, and the air smelled like beer and sweat. Claire scanned the room. Marcus wasn't there. They found a booth in the back corner and ordered drinks they didn't intend to finish. Ethan kept his head down, his phone in his hand, checking it every few minutes. An hour passed. Then another. He's not coming, Claire said. Give it time. We've given it 2 hours. Just wait. Claire was about to argue when the door opened and a man walked in. Thinning hair. Wire-rimmed glasses. The same narrow eyes from the photo. Marcus Reed. He walked to the bar, ordered a drink, and sat down on a stool, his back to them. Claire looked at Ethan. Now what? Now we watch. They watched Marcus drain his first drink and order a second. He didn't talk to anyone. He just sat there, staring at his phone, his shoulders hunched. After his third drink, he stood and headed toward the back of the bar, toward the restrooms. Ethan stood. Wait here. No. Claire. We do this together. Remember? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. They followed Marcus down the narrow hallway. He pushed open the door to the men's room and disappeared inside. Claire stayed in the hallway. Ethan went in. She heard voices. Low. Tense. She couldn't make out the words, but she could hear the tone. Then she heard a crash. Claire pushed the door open. Marcus was pressed against the wall, Ethan's forearm across his throat. Marcus's glasses were on the floor, one lens cracked. Where is he? Ethan was saying. Who hired you? Marcus's eyes were wide, terrified. I don't know what you're talking about. The car. The gas leak. All of it. Who's paying you? No one. I swear. Ethan pressed harder. Marcus gasped. Ethan, Claire said. Stop. He didn't stop. Ethan. He released Marcus, who slumped against the wall, coughing. Claire stepped between them. Are you insane? He tried to kill me. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Ethan pointed at Marcus. Tell her. Tell her what you've been doing. Marcus looked up, his eyes streaming. I haven't done anything. I swear. I was angry. I was following you. But I would never. Liar. I'm not lying. Marcus's voice broke. I wanted to hurt you. I wanted to make you suffer. But I'm not a murderer. I'm just. He broke down, sobbing. Claire looked at Ethan. He's telling the truth. How do you know? Because look at him. Ethan looked. Marcus was on the floor now, his face in his hands, shaking. He's not your killer, Claire said quietly. Ethan's expression didn't change. But something in his eyes shifted. Doubt. He stepped back. Claire crouched down beside Marcus. Who else did Ethan fire recently? Anyone who was angrier than you? Marcus shook his head. I don't know. I don't work there anymore. Think. Marcus wiped his eyes. There was a woman. Sarah Chen. She worked in security. He fired her the same week he fired me. Ethan went still. Sarah? Marcus nodded. She was furious. She said you'd regret it. She said you'd pay. Claire looked up at Ethan. Who is she? Ethan's face had gone pale. She was head of cybersecurity. I fired her for accessing files she wasn't authorized to see. What files? Executive files. Financial records. Personal information. Claire stood. She had access to everything. Yes. And you fired her. Yes. So she knows where you live. Where you work. Your routines. Your security protocols. Ethan didn't respond. He didn't need to. Claire turned back to Marcus. Do you know where she is? No. She disappeared after she was fired. No one's heard from her. Claire helped Marcus to his feet. Go home. Forget you saw us. Marcus nodded, grabbed his broken glasses, and stumbled out of the restroom. Claire looked at Ethan. We need to find her. I know. Do you have an address? I have her file. But it's at the office. Then we go to the office. It's almost midnight. I don't care. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. They left the bar and took a cab to Cross Technologies. The building was dark, empty. Ethan used his key card to get them inside. They took the elevator to the 15th floor. His office was at the end of the hall, behind a glass door with his name etched in silver letters. Inside, it was exactly what Claire expected. Clean. Minimal. Expensive. Ethan went to his desk and unlocked a drawer. He pulled out a file and spread it across the desk. Sarah Chen. 32 years old. Degree in computer science. 7 years with the company. Exemplary reviews until the last 6 months. And an address. She lives in the suburbs, Ethan said. About 40 minutes from here. Then we go. Now? Yes. Claire, it's the middle of the night. And someone tried to kill you yesterday. We don't have time to wait. Ethan closed the file. Fine. But we call the police first. And tell them what? That we think a former employee might be trying to kill you but we don't have proof? It's better than nothing. No. It's the same as nothing. We need evidence. Then what do you suggest? Claire picked up the file. We go to her house. We look around. We find something that connects her to the attempts on your life. Then we call the police. That's breaking and entering. I know. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said. Claire's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. Ethan raised his hand slowly. Sarah. Put the gun down. Why would I do that? Her voice was calm. Conversational. Like they were discussing the weather. Because you don't want to do this. Don't I? She stepped off the porch, the gun steady in her hand. You ruined my life, Ethan. You fired me. You blacklisted me. You made sure I'd never work in this industry again. You were stealing data. I was protecting myself. I knew you'd try to get rid of me eventually. You get rid of everyone. Ethan took a step forward. Sarah raised the gun higher. Don't. He stopped. Claire's mind was racing. The gun was pointed at Ethan. Sarah's attention was on Ethan. If Claire moved slowly enough, carefully enough. Who are you? Sarah asked, her eyes flicking to Claire. No one, Claire said. I'm not involved in this. Then why are you here? Because he asked me to help him. Sarah laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. He asked you? That's rich. Ethan Cross doesn't ask for help. He demands it. He takes it. He uses people and throws them away. That's not, Ethan started. Shut up. Sarah's voice went hard. You don't get to talk. You don't get to explain. You don't get to make this about you. This is about me, Ethan said quietly. So let her go. She has nothing to do with this. She broke into my house. Because I asked her to. Then she's as guilty as you are. Claire took a small step to the side. Sarah's eyes snapped to her. Stay where you are. Claire froze. Sarah, Ethan said. Please. Just put the gun down and we can talk about this. Talk? Sarah's voice rose. You want to talk? Now? After everything you've done? I'm sorry. The words seemed to surprise everyone, including Ethan himself. He said them again, quieter this time. I'm sorry. You're right. I treated you unfairly. I treated a lot of people unfairly. And I'm sorry. Sarah stared at him. You think that fixes it? No. But it's the truth. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the wind rustling through the trees. Then Sarah lowered the gun. Just slightly. You destroyed me, she said, and her voice cracked. You took everything. I know. Do you? Do you really? Yes. Sarah shook her head. No. You don't. Because people like you never do. You make your decisions and you move on and you never think about the people you leave behind. You're right, Ethan said. And I'm sorry. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she raised the gun again. I don't care. The shot was deafening. Claire didn't think. She lunged. She hit Ethan from the side, driving him to the ground. The bullet missed by inches, slamming into the fence behind them. Sarah fired again. Claire rolled, pulling Ethan with her. They scrambled behind the car. Another shot. The rear window exploded. Keys! Claire shouted. Ethan fumbled in his pocket and threw them to her. Claire caught them, unlocked the car, and yanked open the driver's side door. Get in! Ethan dove into the passenger seat. Claire started the engine and slammed her foot on the gas. The car lurched forward. Another shot hit the side mirror, shattering it. Claire didn't look back. She just drove. They made it 3 blocks before Ethan spoke. Are you okay? No, Claire said. Are you? No. She took a shaking breath and pulled over. Her hands were trembling. Her whole body was trembling. You saved my life, Ethan said quietly. Again. Don't. Claire. Just don't. She pressed her hands against her face. I can't, I need a minute. Ethan didn't say anything. He just sat there, his breathing still ragged. After a long moment, Claire lowered her hands. We need to call the police. Now. I know. Ethan pulled out his phone and dialed. He gave them the address. Told them what happened. Told them about Sarah. About the gun. About everything. When he hung up, he looked at Claire. They're sending units now. They want us to meet them at the station. Claire nodded. She put the car in drive and headed toward the police station. They spent the next 4 hours answering questions. Detectives. Officers. A prosecutor. Everyone wanted to know the same things. Why were they at Sarah's house? How did they know she was involved? What evidence did they have? Claire told them everything. The attempts on Ethan's life. The research they'd done. The files in Sarah's house. The laptop. The plan for the board meeting. When it was over, the lead detective, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes and a kind smile, told them they could go. We'll bring her in, she said. You did good work. Dangerous work. But good. Claire didn't feel good. She felt exhausted. They left the station just after sunrise. The city was waking up, people heading to work, living their normal lives. Claire couldn't remember what normal felt like anymore. Ethan drove them to a diner a few blocks away. They ordered coffee and sat in a booth by the window, neither of them speaking. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I meant what I said. Claire looked up. About what? About being sorry. About treating people unfairly. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. I've spent so long building this company, being successful, that I forgot there were real people on the other side of my decisions. Sarah tried to kill you. I know. And she should face consequences for that. But I'm not innocent either. Claire didn't know what to say to that. So she just drank her coffee. What happens now? She asked eventually. Now the police do their job. They arrest Sarah. They build a case. They go to trial. And you? I go back to work. I try to be better. He looked at her. What about you? Claire thought about her apartment. Her job at the restaurant. Her life that felt small and invisible. I don't know, she said honestly. Ethan reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He slid it across the table. What's this? Payment. What I promised you. Claire opened the envelope. Inside was a check. She looked at the amount and felt her breath catch. $50,000. I can't take this. Yes, you can. Ethan. You saved my life. Twice. This is the least I can do. Claire stared at the check. It was more money than she'd ever seen. More than she'd make in 2 years at the restaurant. Take it, Ethan said. Please. You earned it. Claire folded the envelope and put it in her bag. Thank you. They finished their coffee in silence. When they were done, Ethan drove her home. He walked her to her door, hands in his pockets, looking strangely uncertain. Will I see you again? He asked. Claire thought about it. I don't know. Will you come back to the restaurant? Do you want me to? Only if you tip. He smiled. A real smile this time. Deal. Claire unlocked her door. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Claire. She went inside and closed the door. She stood there for a moment, listening to his footsteps fade down the hallway. Then she walked to her bed and sat down. She pulled out the envelope and looked at the check again. $50,000. For the first time in 3 years, she cried. 3 weeks later, Claire walked into the restaurant for her shift. Monica looked up from the hostess stand and grinned. There she is. The celebrity. Claire rolled her eyes. Stop. I'm serious. You were in the news. You took down a corporate assassin. She wasn't an assassin. She was just, Claire stopped. She didn't know how to finish that sentence. Monica came around the stand and gave her a hug. I'm glad you're okay. Me too. Claire went to the back, put on her apron, and checked the section assignment. Table 12 was hers. The one by the window. She walked out onto the floor and saw him. Ethan Cross. Same suit. Same table. Same expression. But when she approached, he looked up and smiled. Good evening, he said. Good evening, Claire replied. Can I start you off with something to drink? Just water, please. She brought him water. He ordered the steak, medium rare, with vegetables this time. When the meal was over and she brought the check, he pulled out his credit card and handed it to her. Thank you, he said. The food was excellent. Claire ran the card and brought back the receipt. He signed it. She glanced at the tip line. 30%. She looked up at him. He was watching her, that same small smile on his face. Better, he asked. Better, she said. He stood, buttoned his jacket, and walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. Same time next week? Claire thought about it. Then she nodded. Same time next week.